So, India is called as the diabetes capital of the world, but if you actually look at the numbers, China is little ahead of us as far as the number of people with diabetes is concerned. And the reason for that is that although the population of India and China are equal, in fact we are now ahead of China as far as population is concerned, they are a much older population. Half of our people are below 20 years of age. China has only one child policy for a long time. So, their population is much older. So, they have people who are 80 years old, 85 years old. You have a lot of diabetes at that age. For that reason, the actual number of people with diabetes is higher in China. But the question was, what has changed in the last say 30 years as far as diabetes is concerned? Number one, it was considered as a rich man's disease. So, they said only rich people get disease. Then it came to middle class. Today, even poorest of the poor people, slum people are having diabetes. That is one big change from the rich to the poor. Second is that they said it is a disease of old age. When you become 60, 70, 80, you will get little diabetes. Then it started coming, 50, 40, 50 years old. Then it started coming when you are 20, 30 years old. Today, type 2 diabetes, I am not talking about type 1 diabetes comes in children. That is a children's age group disease, type 1. I am talking about usual type 2 diabetes comes in adults, has now started coming at 12 years of age, 13 years of age. I have got 1 or 2 children who are 7 years old. Already they are so obese and they have got type 2 diabetes. That is another big shift coming from old age to even children it has started coming. The third is that it was believed to be an urban disease. So, they said in rural areas, villages, nobody will get diabetes, only in the big cities. It used to be like that. Then it started going to the smaller cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities. Today, even in the villages, diabetes is increasing. So, these are three big changes which have occurred. No longer a rich man's disease, no longer an urban disease, and no longer restricted to old age. It started occurring in young people also. These are the major changes which have occurred.
Your research highlighted that Indians develop diabetes at a young age and lower BMI compared to Western population. Could you explain the concept of the Asian Indian phenotype for readers?
For many years, when I started my research on this about 30 years ago, we found that there are a lot of differences between diabetes in Indians, type 2 diabetes in Indians compared to the white European population. One of the things is that it occurs at a younger age, whereas in white Europeans, it occurs when you are 50, 60 years old. In Indians, it starts coming when you are 20, 30 years old itself, it started coming. In fact, when you look at our statistics, 50% of all our type 2 diabetic patients get it before 45 years of age, which is very, very uncommon in a white person. So, that is the first difference. Second is, in US and in most other developed countries, diabetes is associated with obesity. So, you have to be very big obese, you have to have a lot of obesity, lot of body weight and excess fat to get diabetes. We get it even if we are thin people. In fact, Indians are called as thin fat Indians. So, what does it mean? We look very thin on the outside, but inside we have lot of fat. So, we call it as TOFI, thin outside, fat inside. So, that is the typical characteristic of the Indian, and all this is what we call as the Indian phenotype or the Asian Indian phenotype or South Asian phenotype. This makes treatment also a little different, because in the West mostly it is about weight reduction. If you reduce weight, it will go away. In India, that is there, the obese patients are also there, but we also have a lot of thin people in whom there is no weight to lose at all. In fact, they should put on some weight. So, the treatment pattern, the medicines that we take all differ because of this Asian Indian phenotype.
Why do Indians tend to accumulate more visceral fat even when they appear lean? Does this mean that traditional markers like BMI are insufficient for diagnosing metabolic risk in Indians?
Body mass index is a very crude index, BMI we call it. It is just taking the weight in kilograms and dividing it by the height in meters squared. So that is BMI. We are just going by the height and the weight. So it's a very crude index. You can have a BMI. So BMI about 25 we say is obesity. But if you are a very muscular person, suppose you are doing lot of weightlifting and your bones are heavy, you will be classified as obese. Actually, you can be a very fit person. So a better index of obesity and fat deposition in the body is to measure the waist circumference. We take an inch tape and measure your waist circumference. If the waist is enlarged, it usually means there is a lot of fat inside the body. So that's a much better index of obesity in Indians than the body mass index. Now, why do Indians develop this visceral adiposity? Studies have shown very interesting results. If you see the abdomen wall, this abdominal wall, if you see, there are small adipocytes there, small fat cells there. When we eat too much of food, those small fat cells get filled up very quickly, and then it has to go inside the abdomen. In the white man, in the white person, there are a lot of these small adipocytes. So when they eat more food, those small adipocytes will enlarge and they all stay in the abdominal wall. It won't go inside. In Indians, maybe due to genetic factors or because of our diet, we have very small numbers of these small adipocytes, the small fat cells. So very quickly they get filled up, then they go inside into the abdomen, and then it becomes visceral adiposity or visceral fat or intra-abdominal fat. That then goes into the liver. Liver is where the insulin works. So when you have fat in the liver, the insulin does not work, and therefore you can get diabetes. Same fat goes into the pancreas also, so insulin secretion also gets reduced. That is why we get diabetes.
So cities like Chennai, Hyderabad and Bengaluru have booming IT industries, but also rising lifestyle diseases. How much of this diabetes surge is linked to sedentary work culture?
A lot of the diabetes and obesity is due to sedentary culture. You mentioned the IT industry in say Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad and so on. Now when you have IT people, youngsters working for IT, very often they have to work in the night also. So they will be working to American timings. And so what happens, when everybody is sleeping in India, they will be working. So their chronobiology, the brain also gets confused because between day and night. Second, because they are working in the night, they can't get their home food. So they will be ordering junk food from outside, very high calorie, high sugar, high fat. So they all promote obesity. Thirdly, because they are working in the night, they can't, they have to sleep in the daytime, so they don't get time for exercise. So they become sedentary. They are also sitting in the office job next to the computer all the time. That computer radiation is also occurring. All these together play havoc with the health of our youngsters, and that is why in these cities like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Chennai and many other cities, Mumbai, Delhi, all these big cities, they have so much of diabetes.
Are you seeing diabetes in younger patients today compared to the towards 2 decades ago?
Definitely it is occurring at a much younger age group. That is because right from childhood obesity has started. When I was in school 50, 60 years ago or more, there was in my whole school 2,500 students, there was only one boy who was obese, only one in the whole school, okay, and everybody used to make fun of him and all that. Today in my grandson's generation, if you see, 50% of his class are obese. So that obesity from very young age, even the age of 8, 10, they are already obese. By the time they become 15, 20 years old, they are turning into diabetic. So therefore, young people are getting a lot more diabetes today than in my generation.
Diabetes was once considered a city disease, but recent data suggests it is rising in rural India too. How do healthcare access and delayed diagnosis worsen outcomes in rural communities? What role can community health workers play in diabetes screening and prevention?
In rural areas, when you get diabetes, the problem is that number one, there are no specialists in rural areas. Most of the doctors practice in urban areas. If you see specialized equipment, hospitals, they are all in the urban areas. Rural areas, there will be primary health center only. Now, if suppose one of those patients with diabetes in rural area gets a heart attack, there is no hospital there. By the time they reach the city, very often they die. Sometimes they get an injury, they develop some ulcer in the foot, they delay for 2 or 3 days. By the time it has spread very much, then they result in amputation. Similarly, they don't have facility to screen for the eye. So, they may be having diabetic eye changes, and then they can even go to a very advanced stage, blindness can also occur. So, in rural areas, because of these poor facilities, people tend to miss the diagnosis, and therefore, they have complications very early. The way to do it is to reach out to rural areas, to doing mobile camps or taking equipments there, doing camps there, raising awareness there, and linking them to the nearest city. So, if they have a problem, they should be able to go. By this, we can try to help the people living in the rural area. Now, by using mobile phones, by using technology, internet, it is possible to do even teleconsultation to these people.
The Indian diet is often high in refined carbohydrates. How much does diet contribute to India's diabetes burden? Is rice the villain people make it out to be? What do you think about recent trends like intermittent fasting or keto diets for diabetes management?
For many years, our research has shown almost a direct link between carbohydrate intake and development of diabetes. Rice is what we have studied because we are in the south, we have studied rice, and there is a direct correlation with the diabetes. But not that wheat is any better, because in the north and the west, they don't take much rice, they take wheat. There also the wheat is refined, highly polished wheat, and that also is equally bad as rice. So, it does not matter whether we take rice or wheat, if we take too much of it, it seems to be bad. So, we can't call it as a villain, but too much of it, eating too much of it is bad. So, how do we correct this? The way to correct it is to add protein to it. In India, 62% of the calories comes from carbohydrate. Protein is only 12%, it should be at least 20%. If you are able to add 10% more as protein and reduce 10% of the carbohydrate, we will be able to prevent diabetes and also manage it well. About intermittent fasting, it is useful if the calories are cut down. If the calories are not cut down and you simply eat one heavy meal in the morning and a heavy meal in the night and nothing in between, it is not going to help you, because ultimately all the calories will get added up. So, while intermittent fasting is useful, it should be combined with calorie restriction. If you do not restrict the calories, it does not work. I am not in favor of keto diet, because while the keto diet is very low in carbohydrate, it also helps you to lose weight very rapidly, but it is an unbalanced diet, because all the carbohydrate is removed and replaced with fat. So, you end up having a 60%, 70% or even 80% fat diet, whereas the carbohydrate is very, very low and the rest is protein. So, when you have so much of fat in the diet as the keto diet occurs, then what happens is that your cholesterol will go up and your heart disease will go up. So, you may lose weight, but in the end they get heart attacks. So, I am not very much for keto diet. I believe that you should reduce the carbohydrate little bit, increase the protein, take healthy fats, take lot of green leafy vegetables, some fruit. If you are able to do that, you will have a very healthy Indian diet.
So, if you had to give 3 lifestyle habits that could dramatically reduce diabetes risk, what would they be?
The 3 healthy lifestyle things I would say is: number 1, change your diet, take less of carbohydrate, take more protein, take more green leafy vegetables. That is the first one, diet. Second is physical activity. Exercise should become a regular habit, and not only just walking, but you should also do some strength training, that is muscle building, and also some flexibility. I have a formula which I called as FAR, F-A-R, flexibility, aerobic resistance, aerobic exercise and resistance training, FAR. All the 3 should be done, then it is very good. The third and the most important is to reduce stress and to sleep well. If you are able to reduce our stress and sleep at least 6 to 7 hours a day, if you are able to do that and if you sleep on time, these three things we are able to follow: healthy diet, improve your physical activity, and reduce your stress and sleep on time, most of diabetes can be prevented.
What policy intervention could help India slow the diabetic epidemic? Should India have nationwide screening programs for diabetes?
One of the things, policies that we can do, the government can do, is in the public distribution system, especially in the southern states I know, and maybe the same in others. We are giving a lot of, when you give the free food to people or subsidized food, we are giving only rice mainly. The amount of dal that we give is very little. If we increase the proportion of dal that we are giving to people, their protein consumption will go up. The second thing for policy should be to make fruits and vegetables cheaper. We say take lot of fruit, take lot of vegetables, but fruits and vegetables are very expensive. So people go and buy some processed foods from some bakery or from somewhere, they will go, or from outside they will buy. They are usually unhealthy. So I think we should encourage people to take more of fresh vegetables and fruits, and for that the government has to make it very cheap by providing subsidies. The third thing the government can do is to make free access to gyms, to parks, and to plant more trees and make it more green, so that more oxygen will come, pollution will also come down in the cities. So by simple actions that the government can take for policies, changing the policy to improve the health of the people, diabetes can be controlled and even prevented.
What role should food regulation and urban planning play in addressing the crisis?
As far as urban planning is concerned, see, what happens is that in our roads, we don't have proper footpath. The footpath is all taken away. Hawkers do it, or they dig up the footpath. You know, in some of the rich places, they take the footpath also as part of their home, forgetting about the common man who has to walk. So what happens? People have to walk on the road. It is not safe to walk on the road anymore. So if they have pedestrian friendly streets where they have nice big footpath encouraging people to walk, and many parts of the city can be made only for pedestrians, and then they can have any number of parks started where people can go. I know in Delhi they have a lot of big gardens and parks, but many other cities don't have. So the city needs lungs, because enough oxygen, enough green spaces, this itself will help to improve the quality of life of people. If that is done, and as I said, for the diet I already mentioned about encouraging people to reduce their carbohydrate intake and to make protein intake cheaper and available to people, and also fresh green leafy vegetables. All this, if it is done, it can play a big role in preventing diabetes.
India has millions of undiagnosed diabetes. Why does diagnosis still come so late for many patients?
Diabetes is called as a silent killer, and the reason it's called as a silent killer is because it doesn't produce any symptoms until it becomes very late in the disease. When the disease is advanced, no symptoms come. So most people are fooled because they say, I am all right, I don't have any symptoms, why should I go for checkup? In fact, even those who have diabetes, including some of my close friends, when I tell them they would have come and seen me some years ago, and next 5 years they wouldn't have come. And every year you are supposed to check for diabetes. When I ask them, they will say, I am okay doctor, I don't have any symptoms. When I have a problem, I will come. When their problem is either they develop a foot infection or vision loss or some kidney problem, then only they come. It's too late. So you have to have regular checkups, and that is why, because they don't do regular, suppose you do a master checkup, everybody has a master checkup. If you don't pick up diabetes this year, we'll pick it up next year. Whereas if you don't go for a checkup at all, they say if I go for a checkup, they may find out I am diabetic, so I am not going. That's a very foolish thing to say. What's the point in having a disease and denying it? That means you are in denial. So the thing that you have to do is to go for the checkup, detect it early, and then try to reverse it at that time.
Any awareness in the public?
Awareness has to be increased in the public. It must start from the school, it must go to the college, it must go to workplaces, it must go to the public, it must go everywhere. Wherever you go, you must be given right information about diabetes. It can also go through social media. Today what is done is, Social media, we have all kinds of influencers because they have large number of people following. They just sell whatever they want. Often they pick it up from some Google or something, they pick up something, that information may be totally wrong. And they are always telling people wrong information. Don't take medicines. If you take medicine, you will get kidney problem, so stop all medicine. So people are well controlled also. They stop the medicine and then they develop a kidney problem because they stop the medicine. So like this, I think correct information and awareness is very important. Otherwise, people will be misled and all kinds of complications will come.
Recently, AI, all data in the diabetes in the medicine, advice in the public and treatment methods.
About AI.
AI.
AI is good. So in many ways, artificial intelligence can help you to think of something which you never thought of before, because AI has large data and it can analyze it well, better than a human brain can do. AI can do, because you have taught the computer to think like that. So the power of AI is fantastic. It's very difficult for a single individual to do that. So that way it is good. Only thing is, the AI must be given correct information. If you don't give correct information to AI, it will make wrong diagnosis, because from the data it has only it can do. So you must keep on building the database for the AI so that more and more correct information is given to it. If that is done, AI can help in diagnosis, AI can help in treatment, AI can help a doctor to treat and diagnose diseases. So AI is good, but we should check it to make sure whether it's correct or not.
About 30 years experience in the diabetes department, your advice in the children and younger generation?
We must start very early, because if we wait until 30, we will miss a significant number of people. Today it is starting at a very young age. So even by the age of 10, 15 years it is starting. So right from school, first of all I would say even during pregnancy we should start, because if the pregnant lady has diabetes, that is passed on to the child. So we must say, before the lady gets pregnant itself, reduce weight, prevent gestational diabetes or diabetes during pregnancy. Then we treat the diabetes during the pregnancy well. Then the child is born normal. Otherwise, a pregnancy diabetes can give rise to diabetes in the child. So if that is controlled well, from there itself we are doing that. Exclusive breastfeeding is another thing. 6 months, if breastfeeding is done, then the child grows up normally with normal immunity. If you stop that in 2 months and then start giving cereals and other food from outside, chance of developing infection, immunity going down is very high. And finally, from childhood itself, the children must be taught exercises, eat healthy. Now in schools they have started by saying bring fruit to the thing, don't bring junk food, don't bring pizzas and all that, because there are very high calorie foods. So right from that time if we start, and even in the classes that are taught, nutrition must be taught, healthy nutrition must be taught, value of exercise must be taught. See what happens in schools, they have a particular area and they will have a big playground. When they want to expand, the playground is removed and they put 2 blocks there, they build 2 new buildings there. Playground is gone, then child cannot play. They should insist that every school should have some play area, because playing is very important, because it helps to build muscle, it develops the brain of the child, the muscles of the child, it makes the child healthy. If all that is done as they are doing in China, then the country can be really strong.